The Bible was edited. Whole books were deleted. Not myths. Real Gospels, real scrolls. Hidden in caves. Or locked in the Vatican. These are 10 forbidden books they tried to erase from history. Gospel of Thomas. In 1945, buried beneath the sands of Nag Hammadi, Egypt, a sealed jar was discovered. Inside it was a scroll that would shake the foundations of Christian history. The Gospel of Thomas. One of the earliest accounts of Jesus' teachings. But it wasn't about miracles, or sin, or even salvation in the way churches preach today. It contained 114 secret sayings attributed to Jesus himself. And not one mentioned crucifixion. Not one mentioned resurrection. Instead, it said this: split a piece of wood, and I am there. The divine, according to Thomas, was not in heaven or in temples. It was inside you. That was the danger. If salvation came from within, what need was there for priests or institutions? That's why this gospel didn't make it into the Bible. It didn't serve the empire. It set people free. That was the danger. If salvation came from within, what need was there for priests or institutions? That's why this gospel didn't make it into the Bible. It didn't serve the empire. It set people free. Book of Enoch. Long before the Bible was compiled, Enoch walked with God. Or so the story goes. The Book of Enoch speaks of fallen angels, the Watchers, who descended to earth and shared forbidden knowledge with humans. Astronomy, metalworking, sorcery. And from these unions between angels and humans came giants, the Nephilim. The book describes a heavenly court where the Watchers are judged. It warns of coming floods and the corruption of earth by hidden powers. Early Jews considered Enoch scripture. So did many early Christians. Even Jesus quotes it in some traditions. So why was it removed? Because it hinted at beings from the stars. Because it gave too much power to prophecy. Because it blurred the line between divine and alien. Today, it survives only in the Ethiopian church, and the fragments found among the Dead Sea Scrolls. A book too cosmic, too mystical, and far too dangerous. Gospel of Mary Magdalene. The first witness to the resurrection wasn't Peter. It wasn't Paul. It was a woman. Mary Magdalene. Her gospel, buried for centuries, reveals a Jesus who praises her understanding above all others. She has seen more than you, he says to the jealous apostles. In her vision, Jesus teaches that the soul ascends through realms, not through judgment, but through self-knowledge. It was mystical. It was feminine. It was unacceptable to a church built by men. So it was erased. And when they wrote her back in, they called her a whore. But the truth was always different. She wasn't a sinner. She was a seer. The Sibylline books. The Roman Empire had its own prophets. 9 scrolls, said to be dictated by the Sibyls, priestesses of Apollo who spoke in riddles and fire. These scrolls predicted wars, plagues, even the fall of empires. They were consulted in times of crisis, stored in the temple of Jupiter. But the Roman Senate controlled which prophecies could be read, and which would be destroyed. Some say the books were burned in 83 BCE. Others say fragments survived in secret. What matters is this. Prophecy was once public. Then it was controlled. Then it was silenced. Because those in power fear truth that can't be managed. And what was written in fire was erased in fire. Voynich manuscript. A book no one can read. A language no one has ever spoken. Found in Italy. Hidden for centuries. Its pages are filled with alien plans, anatomical diagrams, astrological charts, and women bathing in strange pools of light. Some say it's an alchemical guide. Others believe it's a medieval hoax. But it defies all logic, and all attempts at translation. No one knows who wrote it. No one knows what it says. Not even AI can crack the code. Some believe it was channeled. Others, that it was never meant for us to read. It remains a mystery, one page at a time. Corpus Hermeticum. In the temples of ancient Egypt, wisdom was whispered. In the streets of Hellenistic Greece, it was written down. The Corpus Hermeticum is a series of mystical texts said to be dictated by Hermes Trismegistus, a fusion of the Egyptian Thoth and the Greek Hermes. It speaks of divine unity, of the soul's journey through the spheres, of inner transformation through knowledge. As above, so below. These words became the mantra of alchemists, mystics, and secret orders. The early church condemned it as pagan. The Renaissance rediscovered it, and it helped spark the rebirth of science and art. But even now, much of it remains locked away, dismissed, ignored. Because it speaks of a divine spark in every human being. And if you knew you were divine, you might not be so easy to control. Gospel of Judas. In the Gospel of Judas, everything you thought you knew is reversed. Judas was not the betrayer. He was the one Jesus trusted most. This gospel, discovered in a cave in Egypt in the 1970s, paints a radically different picture. Jesus tells Judas, "You will exceed all of them. For you will sacrifice the man that clothes me." It wasn't betrayal. It was a necessary act, to free the divine from the flesh. In this telling, the other disciples worship a false god. Only Judas sees the truth. The church could never accept this. It flipped the power structure. It suggested the crucifixion was prearranged, and that Judas was enlightened. That idea would unravel the foundation of Christianity. So the gospel was hidden, condemned as heresy, until it resurfaced, almost 2,000 years later. The Grand Grimoire. Legend says it's kept locked deep in the Vatican's secret archive. The Grand Grimoire. A book of demonology, of pacts and summoning rituals, of forbidden power. Said to contain the precise words to invoke Lucifer himself, it has been feared for centuries. Some say Napoleon possessed it. Others believe it was used by secret occult orders. Its pages whisper of blood rituals, of hidden names, of the price of knowledge. Is it metaphor? Magic? Madness? Or is it simply what all grimoires are, a mirror to our deepest hunger for power? Whatever it is, the church hid it. Not because it was false, but because someone, somewhere, might believe it was true. Acts of Paul and Thecla. In a time when women were to be silent, Thecla spoke. The Acts of Paul and Thecla tells of a woman who defied Rome, left her family, and followed Paul to preach. She survived fire. She tamed wild beasts. She baptized herself. And Paul called her equal in faith. But the early church couldn't allow that. A woman, teaching, leading. So her story was pushed aside. The book declared non-canonical. And yet it survived, copied in secret, whispered in convents. Because truth doesn't vanish. It echoes. And Thecla's voice still rings, for every soul told to stay silent. Codex Seraphinianus. In 1981, an Italian artist named Luigi Serafini created something the world had never seen. The Codex Seraphinianus. A book written in a language no one can read. Filled with surreal illustrations of plants becoming machines, animals transforming into tools, and unknown alphabets flowing like ink from another dimension. It's not ancient. But it feels ancient. Like a dream left over from a civilization we never knew. Some believe it's a visual poem. Others, a message from beyond. But one thing is certain. You don't read the Codex. It reads you. A forbidden book not because it was banned, but because it was never meant to be understood. These books were feared. Not because they were false, but because they revealed too much. And still, they whisper. From caves. From catacombs. From ashes. This is only part 1. In Echoes of the Forbidden, we resurrect what they tried to bury. Like, share, and echo the truth. Subscribe for part 2, more books they tried to burn.